Hi, everyone. Welcome again to another installment of The Way It Is. And I'm your host, Luca Andolfato, here with Remax Service First Realty. And I have a guest with me today that I'm excited to have because it is new territory in the estate side of the real estate world. So I have Sara Hillier, who's here with us, who is... Sara, I had your email up here. You're the Director of Estate Solutions and Partnerships at Clearestate, which is a relatively new company that is helping people, executors, I think in particular, deal with their estate settling situations. So I thought it would be a good opportunity because as realtors, I know myself included, we deal with a lot of estate sales, vis-a-vis calls from solicitors who have clients that obviously have properties that have now, the individuals have passed on, and now it's left to either an executor or members of the family to deal with the estate. So thank you, Sara, and welcome.
Thank you, Luca. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So let's, I guess, just start with the big, obviously generic question: Clearestate. Why, what makes you guys sort of different in finding foothold in this marketplace? Then, so
absolutely, Luca. So, essentially, Clearestate was started when one of our founders, Alex Gauthier, went to deal with his own mom's estate, and he found the process to be overwhelming. He didn't really understand exactly what it was he had to do or why he had to do it. And of course, also, he found the process quite antiquated in terms of dealing with the various third parties, financial institutions, et cetera, in trying to get everything done and going through probate process, which, some people may be familiar with, but is not an easy process to go through. And as he was doing that, he just thought, there has to be a better way to provide people with support with estate settlement, and essentially put on his sort of product thinking, cap, and developed a plan, was joined by our other co-founders, and essentially worked on assembling a team of engineers to develop a platform that's actually designed to make the processes more efficient, and walk people step by step through the process, as well as combining that with a team of subject matter experts like myself to actually execute the work and get it done right, as well as provide a hand to hold through the process for families, right? Which we feel is one of the most important pieces of all of this is actually supporting people in a comprehensive way through the process.
Yeah, well, and so I guess two immediate questions that just popped into my head was, first off, so what was Alex's background before this then, apart from, did he have
Great question. Yeah. So his background was in product management and product development and engineering from that angle, which is also why it's the key was really assembling the right team to combine the product element with the subject matter expertise, because the estate settlement and estate planning, which we also support as well, it's highly technical and can be a vast and often misunderstood topics. So yeah, Alex's background originally product and combining with the team to create the platform, basically.
And you and I were just chatting really quickly before we went live, and you are you're 6 months into your position. Mm-hmm. And so what background did you have coming into this, and what made you gravitate towards this opportunity?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I have a background in trust companies, is essentially where my expertise is in estate planning and estate settlement, and wealth management from that angle. And the first thing that attracted me to Clearestate was really the mission, right? And the goal to actually help families with this in a way that actually meets them, rather than some of the more traditional, services and solutions that are out there. Like trust companies provide valuable service, of course. However, they tend to be inaccessible for the vast majority of families because of the minimum fees involved, and in addition to that, they actually don't necessarily support the entire process. They don't actually prepare for and file probate applications, for example. So I was quite keen on a new technology-led way to actually deal with estate settlements and help families.
Well, that's excellent, and thank you for sharing that. And so I guess I've never been an executor, and I dare say I'm not sure if I'd want that responsibility or not put upon me, because most executors really don't have the option to say yes or no. They're sort of written into someone's will, and it's either a family member or a close friend or what have you. But so not only are you supporting the executor, because I have had clients who have been executors of fairly significant estates, and it's a long process. It's stressful. It's costly. I mean, because they're spending monies sometimes out of their own pockets, waiting to be reimbursed by the estate down the road. But is Clearestate an option for someone to choose them versus an actual executor, or do you actually still need an executor and Clearestate's just there to support the executor?
Yeah, great question, Luca. We actually do both. So we can support an executor who's, acting or going to act in an estate settlement. But we can also, on the planning side of things, we can be appointed as an executor as well to actually relieve that burden completely off of loved ones.
Wow. Now, would an existing executor have the legal ability to appoint Clearestate to sort of take their place or substitute them in the process?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So technically, so first I want to say that estate rules and regulations, it's very jurisdictional. So I want to just say that to begin with, because there are varying degree rules depending on what province you're located in, or what state or what country. That has an impact on things for sure. An executor can choose to engage Clearestate in such a way that we're essentially acting as their agent in carrying out the tasks involved. So that's one really great way that an executor can engage with us to alleviate some of that burden from us. If they, no one can actually be compelled to act or forced to act as an executor, with the exception sometimes of professionals. But an individual can't really be forced. So if it's something you're not sure if you're comfortable with, we do offer free consultation, so people can call us up and chat with us about the specific circumstances, and we can actually provide them with some information so that they can decide for themselves what's best to do. But if they really feel like it's not right for them, they can certainly take steps to have Clearestate act in that capacity, depending on the specific circumstances and depending on who all the beneficiaries are and that kind of thing.
Now, I you know what? Silly me. I didn't even think to ask, but I kind of made the presumption because I was given this connection through my friend and contact, John Lusink, who's a broker owner in the GTA there for Home Life Realty. There, not Home Life, right at Home Realty. Sorry, John. Anyway, I'm assuming this is a Canadian company, and if it is, what province do you operate out of, or where do you operate out of?
Great question. So Clearestate was founded in Montreal, and I myself am located in Toronto. We are operating in several jurisdictions across Canada as well as the United States, and we are sort of expanding rapidly into new jurisdictions as well.
So, Obviously, Alex, I haven't met him. I saw his photo on the website and read his bio there a bit and stuff like that. But I mean, they're not just philanthropists. This isn't happening out of some big goodwill gesture, and they've got piles of mountains of money that are subsidizing executors. So obviously, Clearestate is a business. It has to have a profit and loss and has to make money. So if you don't mind speaking to, what are the costs involved in engaging with Clearestate to help then? So
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So on the estate settlement side of things, an executor can engage Clearestate based on, we have a few different packages based on the level of complexity and the amount of support that's actually desired by the executor. However, the packages range from $2,495 to $6,495. So just depending on, like I said, the complexity and amount of support desired. Our premium package, for example, the highest package is, a full concierge type of arrangement. But the different packages, really varies based on what's right for the executor. On the planning side of things, we offer similarly a few different package based on the complexities involved. But the getting a profile set up on our platform, that starts out at $495 for an individual. And if you'd like a will and power of attorney documents as well, then that's $995 for an individual. And then there's an annual fee for the ongoing maintenance of your profile and ability to update things as your circumstances change. And the really neat part about the platform is, originally, it was designed with the executor in mind and completing the estate settlement process. But naturally, what that also did was create a very unique and thorough way to actually plan an estate. So we use the platform similarly to help people to visualize what their estate distribution is going to be like, to understand the actual impact of what is in their plan, the way they have things set up, so that they can, decide to tweak things and make changes for efficiency, savings, and ease for their family. And then if when the time comes that they pass away, with a few clicks of a button, their loved one actually has everything that they need in order to proceed smoothly, as well as, access to our team for a bit of sort of initial guidance. But to your point, the rate, the what we're trying to do is provide the service in such a way that it is super accessible and in both cost-wise, as well as the efficiency of it and the way people interact with the platform. Very user-friendly by design. It's dynamic in that as you give it information, it builds out the next steps that need to happen. And, it's a super easy way to kind of hold yourself accountable to make sure you actually get that estate plan done, which is a huge, a huge piece of it. Lots of us know we need to, we just don't actually do it.
Well, and that's the point I was getting to next. I had a client that used to do pre-needs things, and I hazard a guess that a majority of the population don't have any planning in place or any type of even wills for that matter, I'm going to guess. Is that what you find dealing with most of this?
57% of Canadians don't have a valid will in place. And of the people who do have a valid will in place, oftentimes it's outdated and they haven't looked at it, even though they've had circumstances change in their lives. So yeah, unfortunately, it's a big mission we have to help people with it.
Now, obviously, if I guess on the marketing side, and obviously that's a different department and everything like that for the company, but presumably you can market yourself to the general population, Canadians, private citizens, everything like that. But I've got to guess that you're trying to reach out to, given your previous business life prior to coming to Clearestate, you're reaching out to solicitors, financial planners, institutions that obviously hold these people's assets or something like that, right? To provide them the option of recommendations for these kinds of services, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so are you getting, given you're so new, because the company was founded in 2020, what's been the reaction? What's been the uptake, or if there's been a backlash even, or what have you discovered? I mean, I know you've only been at it 6 months, but what's the history so far?
Yeah. Great question. So honestly, it's been remarkable how much what we're doing is clearly resonating with everyone we interact with. And that's, from investors to partners to, clients, even people who we just chat with and we aren't actually, we aren't able to necessarily help in terms of a service, but we've been able to arm them with some information to move forward confidently. And I mean, it's helpful from so many different angles that everyone that I've talked to about it, and that is a big part of my job right now, is just getting in front of people and chatting with them about who we are and what we do, and it's really resonating. The unfortunate reality is that because the topics are estate settlement, it can be technical in nature, and it can be kind of intimidating to learn about and make informed decisions on. And because of that, lots of people end up with these unanticipated, unexpected outcomes in their estates. And so the thought that we're able to kind of get in there and help families to address those things, both before and after the fact. I think it's really resonating with people. Until you're faced with the unfortunate and daunting task of acting as an executor, you really don't know the amount. It's hundreds of hours often over a period of, 16 to 24 months. And most people, are surprised by that and the amount of energy and time that they expend, and then the personal liability on top of that. So I think to answer your question, I've met no one that said, "Oh, that doesn't sound like it's really needed." Like I literally everyone says, "Oh my goodness, like yes, like why isn't there something more like this available out there?" And why haven't we thought of this? And also, lots of people have said that because of course we get compared to working with trust companies, working with law offices, and lots of people I talk to, they're sort of comparing. And not only are we able to offer the service in a more accessible way, we also offer it in a more complete way, because we truly provide support with every step of the process, and an expert that's going to actually hold your hand through all of it, which is actually dramatically different than what's available out there. And I find that's really resonating with people.
So, in saying that, I guess the thought that came to my mind after just saying that is: so do you have like these networks of these professionals at your as resources at your availability then, that sort of are on a contract basis with you in terms of, hey, we need legal expertise in this particular situation, or we need accounting expertise in this particular situation, or we need financial planning? So you have these individuals sort of networked with you, and then you've got some kind of remuneration compensation package with them then, presumably.
Yeah. So we actually have a large number of in-house subject matter experts
Wow. Okay.
And we do most of our work with them, like through them. We do also have a network of other professionals that we might interact with in a typical estate settlement or estate plan, such as yourself, for example, where we can refer people to for other types of services that are going to be needed if they're selling the estate property, etc. And so we have both. We have our in-house, experts and professionals, and then we also have our network that we rely upon, where there's services that are needed that are beyond the scope of what we do.
Right. Right. So, I mean, this obviously was when John sent me the link. I hadn't heard of it and didn't know much about it, other than in the traditional sense of, estate settlement and how I knew it to operate with the individuals that sort of take part in that process. But are you the first? Is it a rapidly expanding sort of area? Are there others in the playing field?
Yeah.
What's the lay of the land like?
Great question. So there are other sort of executor support or executor assist type of services out there. A lot of them might be, former trust officers or sometimes lawyers who provide like a more robust service than, the straightforward probate application. However, to my knowledge, we are the first to actually use technology to develop a platform. It certainly is unique. Like I haven't seen anything else out there that is as robust and as complete as what we're doing. So certainly the first, it's interesting because, like I said earlier, we've known that this is something, even like myself being in the industry, almost 15 years, it's something that we've all thought, like, that the estate settlement industry needs modernization, right? We need to catch up with, the times and the way that people conduct themselves and conduct their businesses and perform transactions. And it just lags so far behind technology. And I think Clearestate will actually go beyond being able to, use the platform to help make the process efficient. I think we'll actually end up being change makers in terms of how people, how legislation is approached and what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. I think we're going to play a part in that by pushing forward that agenda too.
This is one of my pet peeves, and I'm not sure how Clearestate deals with it, because I had a very dear, she's like a second mother to me, and she became a widow. My goodness, it's already a couple of years ago now, but and she was the direct, widower, inheritor, the executor, all of that. But she told me we would share stories about her scenarios with the lending institutions where their accounts were held and everything like that. And oh my goodness, like, I mean, I'm frustrated with banks on any given date, any given time, given their bureaucracies that they are and the horrible customer service that they provide, simply because of the monolithic bureaucracies that they are. But how are you guys dealing with that kind of stuff where they're like, left hand doesn't talk to the right hand, and then you have to go up the food chain and then no one gets back to you? Like, has Clearestate found the secret to that or something? How is that happening?
Yeah. So, the expression, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of it. But I think a big part of it is, and what's so challenging for the lay executor, is that when they go to deal with these things and these bureaucracies that you're talking about, which I know all too well, they need to know their job and they need to know the third party's job. And then often they need to push, right? Like they need to actually say, okay, but I already provided you with that, or okay, but that actually is not needed in this case because ABC. So, a big part of what we do is because we have that subject matter expertise to be the squeaky wheel. We know exactly, what it is that needs to be said to accomplish what's needed, right? And I do, and also obviously with the experience we have and the amount of practical application of what we do, we know, exactly what a financial institution is going to say before they say it, right? So we actually anticipate that, and we design what we do and how we respond in such a way that meets those requirements. But you're right, like the bureaucracy of it all and the timelines. Unfortunately, at times we are a bit at the mercy of third parties or the court, but we do everything we can to make to do things quickly from our perspective, and to push to have the other parties do things quickly as well.
Well, and good to hear, and I'm good. I congratulate you for taking on those tasks. That's for sure. So here's, and this may sound like maybe a too simplistic a question, but I guess if you can, and you have at liberty to respond, a traditional, I'm an executor, I've been handed this estate, I've got to go through that process. As you said, I'm a lay executor, or now I've engaged with Clearestate. What are the timelines, difference in timelines vis-a-vis doing it the old-fashioned way or traditional way versus engaging with Clearestate? Have you seen results where you've expedited the process? And if so, by how much, I guess, or what are people looking at? So
yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, I'm really glad you asked that, because one of the really cool things about our platform is that as you go through the steps, it actually tells you how much time we've estimated that you've saved, as well as the cost that you've potentially saved too, which is really neat, because then you could actually see in real time how much more efficient it is than you potentially dealing with it on your own or through a different type of service. But the reality is, it obviously depends on the specific circumstances of the estate, but we estimate we're able to save an executor hundreds of hours of work, actually, and also thousands of dollars. On average, over $8,000 is what we can typically save on an estate settlement, because we're able to reduce the amount of additional professionals that might be needed, as well as make the process super efficient, right? Through our platform, the information is entered once, and then everything is generated from there.
Right. So you have obviously those that upload or help the executor input all this data or these documents, obviously, and you're housing them somewhere in the cloud or on a Dropbox folder or somewhere where you guys, and then once you have them, then it's just accessible and you fire them off to wherever you need to. Is that, so that's part of the process then, sort of the onboarding, if you will, or?
Yes, essentially. So our platform, you have the ability to upload documents securely. And your estate professional actually also helps you to kind of like make sure it lives in the right place when people have trouble with that, so that it's easily identifiable and can be found when it's needed. It's, of course, it's done securely. We embed privacy by design into the way that we do things, and lots of people find it quite convenient to be able to just, take a picture of a page on their phone and upload it, directly to the platform. And then your dedicated estate professional now has the information they need to move forward with next steps. We use, DocuSign, for efficiency. There are still some, jurisdictions where you have to sign in front of a notary, but we make arrangements for that. So everything is super easy and convenient for the executor.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you touched on that because our industry has changed dynamically because of that. I mean, DocuSign was the greatest godsend ever. Sadly, I've been at this way too long. And I remember the days when, we were told you had to make 6 copies because one for each lawyer and one for each
Yeah.
party and one for the blender and one for anyway, it was just the amount of trees that we killed was just ridiculous. But so, yeah. And I know even still though, even now when we deal with solicitors to sign deeds, because deeds still need to be signed in person, or at least
Yep.
they now have the platforms where they're doing it virtually, where the solicitor,
Yep.
the notary is there, at least observing the signature and everything
Yep.
like that. So,
Yep.
well, that's excellent. And I'm looking at the watch here. We've already spoken for almost 30 minutes, and it's great because it's been so interesting and getting all this information. But I know obviously you're busy, and I don't want to keep you. But I guess in summation, what knowing what you know now, knowing what you knew before, what would be your biggest piece of advice, I guess, for the community at large, or the listeners that are listening, or anybody there that's going to be faced with this situation, or even not thought about it now, or going to contemplate it? What can you offer in terms of next steps, or what's to start thinking about?
Yeah. So definitely call Clearstate for one. We're
Good
happy
point.
to
Yes.
we're happy to chat with you about your specific circumstance so that you can move forward confidently. Um, in general, I would say on both sides, the settlement side and the planning side, I would say like it's okay to be a little bit overwhelmed because these are not topics that you deal with every day. I hope you don't, in fact, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on the planning side, it's especially important that people understand that the absence of any plan is actually what ends up making things complicated.
Right.
So
Yeah.
a lot of times I hear people say like, "Oh, my situation is so simple. Like it's fine. Like everything's fine." Right. And the reality is not looking at it and making sure that in fact everything is going to happen as you intend is what ends up making things complicated for your family. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that knowledge is key to sort of hopefully light a fire under people to kind of, okay, well, you know what, I do need to kind of look at this, and that, seek the right help, and, don't just do whatever it was that your neighbor said was a good idea to do, right? Because no plan can be looked at, little pieces in isolation. You got to look at the big picture. And the other piece I would say on the after the fact side of things is, things can go sideways really quickly in an estate
Yeah.
settlement if something's missed, or if perhaps one of the parties disagrees with how something is being handled. I've unfortunately seen a ton of conflict and strain between family members in an estate settlement that could have potentially been avoided if they had initially sought the right guidance, had clear and transparent communication, and sort of approached it from that viewpoint. One of the really cool things about our platform is we have a beneficiary portal, which means that when somebody's acting as an executor, some of our packages come with this beneficiary portal, which gives the beneficiaries an ability to log in and not see everything, but see the information that's relevant to them and see the progress of the estate settlement. So there's this natural transparency that alleviates that strain.
Well,
That's
that's
what I would
awesome.
say.
You know what? That's a great nugget and takeaway there. That's an exceptional piece of information, and obviously, going back to how the conversation started. Obviously, Alex suffered through all of these pitfalls and these steps to sit back and say, "Oh my goodness, well, this happened to me, and this happened to me, and this happened to me, and so here's something that we can do to correct it." Right. So that's an amazing testament to, I guess, his vision and the insight and the wherewithal of what you're trying to do for people. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, I thank you so much for your time, and it's been very informative, and I wish you all the best in your position.
Thank you. Thank you, Luca.
We'll have your site up on the link up on my site so that people can visit if they so choose and get the information. But all the best, and thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Luca. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.